Well, first I have to thank Jacob for the invite. We really appreciate the invitation for us or for me to come and talk to you guys about my experience from the past 3 years. We have some good and really, really bad experience in this past 3 years. I never in my lifetime I was gonna be in places that I have been or knowing people that I meet already, and unfortunately it was not for the right situation. And I also want to thank everybody for being here. I know it was short notice for all of us because it was planned really, really fast, but I know that it has a really big purpose. And we think that a small town like this cannot do much in a big election, but trust me, a little bit that we do here and there, it's gonna get us to the right place. Let me start introducing myself. My name is Doolittle. I'm Corporal Umberto Sanchez mother. As all you guys know, he got killed in action in August 26, 2021. My son enlisted in the Marine Corps in 2007, just when he was a senior in high school. As small town, many people know the story. Many people actually knew him from growing up, from being like a student, from like playing soccer. Like I have many stories of him, or from people that actually knew my kid. And after he passed, it really bring a lot of joy to my life because I got to know the kid that I never knew I had. He was so compassionate. He was a protector, and I did not know that. I thought he was a fighter and he was a bully, but then he was the other way, and that made me so proud. One time I actually mentioned him, why don't you join the Marines? I didn't, that's not lying. I did not even mention the Marines. I said, why don't you join the military? And then he said, do you want them to kill me? And I said, son, if they don't kill you in the military, they're gonna kill you on the streets. So you better do something with your life. And he said, no, I'm not gonna do that. I never feel the call to do that. So then one day he just showed up and he said, do you have anything to do at 4 p.m. today? And I said, why? And then he said, because I enlist and I'm 17. I need you to sign the papers because they are not gonna let me sign. So I said, okay. I was surprised actually because he definitely said, no, I'm not gonna do it. So I asked him why you did it. And then his response was, I just wanna make you proud. And then later I asked him, why you want to be a Marine? Like there's National Guard, there's many other branches that are less hard. And then he said, I just want to be a badass mom. I want to make you proud and I want to be the best of the best. So that's why he enlisted in the Marines. He got deployed 2 times in Virginia. He was working as let me go back a little bit. And not many people know this because I did not actually like talk about how he was doing in the military. But then he actually wants to guard the president. And then I just found a letter because we talked about it when he came back from boot camp, and then he explained me why he wants to guard the president. And he was so mad because he passed most of the tests, like the mental and test and all that stuff to guard the president, and then when they got to investigate his dad actually was, the FBI was searching for him because he went to jail. And so they said that since his dad had a past, he was not gonna be able to guard the president, and it was something that really hurt. Because he said, I want to do it. I feel like I want to do that. And just because my dad, he said a really bad word. And then he said, just because my dad, I cannot do what I want to do. So I didn't tell this to Trump yet, but I bet I will tell him one day. So he got deployed 2 times to Virginia. They were guarding nuclear weapons. And then the third deployment was to Spain. And then he had so much fun in Spain. I have a lot of stories about Spain, and a lot of guys got actually in trouble because he was the only one that speaks Spanish, and they actually trusted that he was gonna take them to a bar. So then he called an Uber and he said, just take us to a bar. So then his Spanish was not their Spanish, and he did not know the difference. So then the Uber driver took them to a strip club. And then the guys were like, what you did? We trust you. And then he said, I don't know, I just told them to take us to a bar, and this is where I don't know. So then they figured it out that his Spanish was not trustable. I have a bunch of stories like that. He was just a good fool. He was just a really, really like smart kid, but he really likes to make people smile and have a good day in the middle of a really, really bad day. So his last deployment was to the Jordan. When he got the orders to go to the Jordan, I started like feeling anxious, because it's not Spain, it's not just here in the States, it's overseas, and it's that side of the globe. So I was a little worried. And then I talked to him several times about like, just be really careful, please. Don't go out, please don't go out, because this is not like Spain. They're not gonna take you to a strip club. If you go out, you're gonna get killed. And then he said, don't worry, Mom, they're gonna take us and give us a big training, and we know what we're doing. I said, okay. So then, when was the date? August 14th. He messaged me and he said, Mom, the Taliban is taking over Afghanistan, and they told us to be ready because we are gonna be sent to Afghanistan, but please don't say anything, don't post anything on social media, just pray for us. And I said, I didn't hear anything on the news, like what's going on? And then he starts sending me pictures and saying, look, this is the area where the Taliban already, like, what they already take over, and it's really close to the embassy, so they just want us to go and evacuate everybody from the embassy, and it's not gonna take long. I promise. They said it's gonna be just a few weeks, and I said, are you sure? Like, you give me a day, because I'm not gonna sleep. Like, I need to know. And then he said, well, just remember that's what they said when they sent the first soldiers to Afghanistan, and it has been 20 years. So let's just pray that it's just like how they said, 2-3 weeks, and then we are out. And after that day, that was the 14th. The last message that I had from him was like, we're leaving in 2 hours. So after that, as soon as I get up, I turned the TV on, I was on the news, like watching every single outlet that I can catch, and it was a really stressful 10 days. I was like always waiting and checking, you know, when Messenger, you go to Messenger and it says, this person was active 2 hours ago, and stuff like that. So I checked, and it was days and days, and he was not active, he was not online. So I was like, please God, I want my kid back. So on August 21st, he messaged me and he said, Mom, I'm alive. I'm barely alive. I almost got killed the first day. I thought I was gonna die. He said the first day that we got here, it was like a big riot, and then there's hundreds of thousands of people on the gates, and they were just running over us, and then somehow we were not enough, and they just run over us, and I went to the floor, and then all the people was just running over me, and I thought I was dying. And he said, remember the movie The Lion King? And I said, yes. And then he said, just like that, I feel like my soul wasn't in my body. I thought I was gonna die. And luckily, some other Marine got me from under the crowd and then helped me to get up, and we got out. And I'm all sore, I'm really, really sick. I tried to convince him that day to go to the nurse and then try to step away from the gate and like try to do something for you. I said, you know what? I don't care. Just go to the nurse and try to get away. Try to get rest, try to get food. And then he said, I was talking to him about the news. They just said, oh, there's only 7 people that got killed, and then 3 of them are from the planes. That they were just on the planes, and then they just drove. And he said, Mom, the Taliban is killing kids outside the airport in front of us, and they just execute them. And then as soon as we take the people out of the airport, they just kill them. And don't believe what the news said. That's not true. This is not how it's going on in here. You have to trust me. This place is the worst, and I have been doing things that I never thought I was gonna do. He said, there's a lot of males in the age of the military, and they are just trying to get on top of the kids and the women, and I'm not gonna let that happen. So I said, please help as much as you want. Just remember, you as much as you can. Just remember that that was me many, many years ago. I just come from Mexico, and I just want to give you or your sister a better life, and please help as much as you can. And he said the situation is being really, really bad. I'm gonna try to do my best, but trust me, this is not like a normal situation. This is out of our hands, and I was really worried and upset, and I regret so much about not saying I love you that day, because that was the last conversation that I had with him. I did not hear from him after. That was August 21st, and the 26th, I remember I wake up and I was doing my coffee, and then I keep like searching the news, and then I hear that there was an attack, and then there was another bomb, and then a shooting, and then most of you guys were on the news too, looking and watching, and there was a chaos. I remember the first news that I watched, they said that there was 4 casualties, and they went up and up and up, and I called my daughter, I called my husband, and I said, something is happening and I don't feel okay. And they said, did somebody call you? Did you receive an email? And I said, no, but this is not how it works. You're not gonna have an email, you're not gonna have a call, somebody's gonna knock on your door. And then they said, well, good news, no news is good news. So don't worry, just keep praying and then just wait. So then all afternoon, I remember actually we went and tried to do something out, so just I can get my mind out of it. But then my heart was like, something is wrong, and you have to be prepared. So then I went to bed, and I was putting my phone under my pillow, and then I hear the vibration on my phone, and I look, and the only thing that I can read was California. And I'm like, this is not happening. So I wake him up, and I'm like, hey, somebody's calling me from California. And then he said, answer. I'm like, I'm not gonna answer. You said that they're not gonna call me, so I'm not gonna answer. So then they called again, and they leave a voicemail. So I got up, and I listened to the voicemail, and it's just this Marine from California saying, I have information about your kid. At that time, I was just still praying that he was injured, and he was one of the hundreds that got injured. And then he said, I am outside your house. And then I'm like, outside my house? And then he said, yeah, do you live in Erie Avenue? I'm like, no. And they're like, just give me your address, we're gonna be there in a few minutes. So then I got downstairs, and then he got to the door, and then I'm like, are they fully dressed? I was just still like, I know they are in my door, I know they are here. But I was just expecting that they said, we have to take you right away to Germany or whatever hospital to see your kid. And the first thing they said is like, I'm sorry. That was in my living room. They were in my house. I was in my living room, and I just like started crying. crying and like throw myself on the floor. And then 2 minutes after, I stopped the baby and I just remember where's my kids. I had 2 little kids at that point. And I was just screaming like crazy. And I'm like, my kids? So I just stopped and they just look at me like, what's going on? Is she crazy? So then I get up and I just run to the room and I find my 2 kids holding each other because they hear everything. They hear when I start crying and it was just a horror movie. And that was not it. I wish that was it and they let me breathe and they let me do my thing and okay, he died and that's it. Like a bomb, a crossfire, like this is war, right? So I was just expecting that if one day he died, it was just gonna be like that. Then they told us that we have to go to Dover to pick up the bodies, to have the dignified transfer. And I guess that's, even when I wasn't 100% my whole like sense in there, we went there and it was just a show. It was just a show. We were waiting for like an hour and a half because Mr. Joe Biden was taking a nap. They didn't want to wake him up. And our kids were on the tarmac already, waiting for us to be there. But then he was sleeping. And they didn't want to wake him up because, you know, like the man is not 100% there. So then we were in this big room and we were the first one in the entrance. And then he shows up and then it's really a disgrace. You see the man, his jacket was not even buttoned up right. It wasn't even. And then he goes to our little cubicle and then he greeted me as Mrs. Lopez. And they just look at him and they said, she's not Mrs. Lopez, this is Miss Sanchez. And then obviously the older mom, Miss Lopez, was on the other side. And then she starts screaming at him. And then he's just like talking about how he understands how I feel because his son died in the military too. And then I cannot get that out of my head. Because I didn't know the story behind his son. But he said, I know how you feel because my son died in the military too. I don't know if he means to say my son served in the military and he died after. I don't know what was going through his mind because it was not what he should say. He talked to us for like, maybe 2-3 minutes. He said, whatever you need, I'm gonna give your husband my contact information. Whatever you guys need, just contact me. Well, we never had that contact information, right? He just said that and that was it. And then all the generals approached to us and all the people with all the stars and the medals, and then it's just a show. Because they know that they did something wrong. They just show up and said, hey, we're here and I'm sorry for your loss, but they have our kids' hands, our kids' blood in their hands. And at that point, I was not really involved in what was going on. At that point, I was just in pain. I was just like numb for the situation. So it was just clouds because I don't remember a lot of stuff. If you ask me what happened from August to December, I don't even remember everything. So we went to Dover. The best part of the story. We got to the tarmac. We started receiving the caskets. They said, your son is casket number 5. And I thought in my mind that I was gonna go and approach the tarmac and the casket and share a few tears. They just like pass by you, not even stop in front of you, just go, and then every time he finished the casket and they salute, he just look at his watch. And every single time, I don't recall every single time, but one of the other parents was more aware of the political side, so he knew what was going on. And I remember people screaming really bad at the end, and I was like, why they are fighting or who they are fighting with. And then he said they were screaming at Biden. And I'm like, okay. I was completely out of, like, I did not have that knowledge that I have now. So that was, I just think that was one of the big disrespects from this administration, because if you guys have a little bit of knowledge of the situation, it was just preventable. It was preventable, and they decide we want to do it this way, and this is how it's going to be, and we don't care. We have the information that the day before they have a meeting on the Pentagon, and somebody bring the information and said, we're going to lose a lot of lives. And then they said, we said that we're going to leave this day, and this is the day that we're going to leave. And then if we go back to in history, he was saying since like the 80s, I just want my name to be right on the history books. And then when we go back to when he got elected president, he said that Afghanistan is what is going to put my name on the history books. So he didn't want not just to get the troops out, he did it because he wants to be remembered. Unfortunately, we're going to remember a lot. Where did I go? I got lost. I said that I was going to whip like Donald Trump, but I'm not good at that. So, okay. So we for a year and a half, actually since my son passed to what it was May of 2023, I decided I was not going to get involved in any political issues. I said my grief, my kid, my life, I just have to help my kids to survive and like take care of them. And a lot of people contact me and said, you have to speak up. And I said, I'm not the person, my English is broken, I'm not gonna do this because this is not me. I just have to take care of my kids. And they keep pushing and pushing, and I said, no, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do anything like that. And then in May, Congress started like putting some hearings together because they want to get accountability for what happened. And I remember listening to Tyler Vargas Andrews, that's the Marine that got blown up, and he lost his leg, his arm, and a lot of his organs. And then he testified and he explained from A to Z what happened that day. And when he said, we have the men on the side, we have the bolo, we have all the information, and we have the men on our side for hours. Then we asked for permission to engage, and they said, we don't have the authority. And then he knew that the man was there. And they said, we don't have authority to tell you yes, shoot at that man. Even when they have the picture, they have all the information. And then nobody responded. They went to the chain of command, and then nobody answered. So then he said a few minutes later, I went downstairs to talk to the guys. And then obviously in those few hours, our kids were there. And then in one of the reports that I have, it says, the Sanchez and Lopez were aware of the man that they were talking about, and they were really concerned. So our kids knew what was going on that day. They knew that the man was there, they knew that the threat was there, and they did not run. And that's one of the things that they really hurt, because the last day that I talked to him, I said, go to the doctor, please try to way out, to get your way out of that situation so you are not in the front line. And then he didn't want to do it. And then that day, they have the guy on the side, they were aware that the guy was around, they were waiting for that yes, take him down, and they never received it. So do you guys think that they were all those guys and there they were thinking on, we're doing this for the president? They were not. They were thinking we have to save more lives. We have to keep the gate open, so those kids can have a better life and have a future. I said that we send the best of the best, and not just my kid, not just the kids said they were on that day that day. Our military is the best of the best. They get trained to give their life and the line of duty so others can lead. I said I was not gonna cry. It's hard. So then I get involved with all the hearings, and it was hard for me to go with all these other parents, and like, as I told you, my English was way worse 2 years ago. I tried to get it better a little bit. And it was hard for me to even give an interview. It was so hard for me to be in front of people and just talk about my kid, because the only thing I do is cry. And then I'm gonna tell you many, many stories about how good kid he was and how much he got in trouble, because he got in trouble a lot too. But I was not that person. And we got involved with Congress. We went to many hearings. We meet a lot of people that can do a lot for this country, and they're willing to do it. We just have to find the right person. But the thing is, like, we are trying to get some changes on policies and try to change stuff so this don't happen again. Because we know it was preventable. We know they didn't follow rules. They didn't know what to do. So our kids got killed because nobody knew what to do. So we have something in writing, then things are gonna change. So we started going to Congress, and after many, many hearings, now we have a lot more knowledge of what really happened on that withdrawal. And trust me, it's a lot of information that a simple brain cannot actually understand. What things they can do right, and they just decide not to do it because it was not gonna go according to the photo op, or it was not gonna help them to look better. And they just decided our kids were replaceable. They decided it don't matter how many lives we lose, we just want to do it this way because this is our plan. So I remember by the anniversary, the second anniversary, we went to a hearing, and then we were going to be in DC, most of the parents, so we decided, why don't we send a letter to Biden in the White House to see if they can meet us. And we sent 2 letters that weekend, and not respond. They don't respond. They just didn't even say, no, I'm sorry, we're busy, we are not in town, we can meet you with this other day, nothing. Crickets, we did not hear anything. So then President Trump knew that we were going to be around in DC, and it was the second anniversary. So he said, he contacted one of our guys, and he said, I'm going to be in Bedminster, why don't you guys come? And we were so surprised because it was just like, we didn't even ask him. We did not request any meeting or anything, but he said, just come to Bedminster, I will just have dinner with you guys. So then it was so funny that we got to that room, and I remember he has a few papers on his hands, and then he sat down and looked at us, and he said, you know what? It's not about me. It's not about what I want to tell you. I just want to hear more about your kids. I just want to hear your story. I just want to know what's going on with you guys. I know the names, but I want to hear more of the stories. How do they work as a kids and stuff like that. So we were talking to him for hours. I was just telling them that one of the moms actually had a pair of American flag heels, and then she took her shoe off, and she said, "Can you sign my shoe?" And then he looked around, and I thought he was gonna say no, and then he said, "Hey, Susie, did I ever sign a shoe?" And then they're like, "Now that we are aware." And then he grabbed the shoe and started signing, and he said, "Just give me the other one so I can say that I signed a pair of shoes." And just things like that that day we meet the men. We did not meet the politician. We did not meet the person that you guys see on TV. We meet the men. The man that cares, the man that loves, the man that will actually grieve with you and want to know about our stories. That he really feel like he leave us down. And it was just so incredible that he said, when I get to the White House, I promise you that I'm gonna honor your kids on the Rose Garden. And then I'm gonna speak their names loud and clear. And I think that that's the thing that really got me, because I remember when I approached to him, I said, Mr. Trump, will you give me my citizenship? And then he just looked at me and he said, you're not a citizen. And I thought he was like embarrassed. And then he said, why you're not a citizen? I'm like, because I think that at this point in my life, I didn't want to study. I know the test is really hard, so I just don't want to do it. And I asked the Marines if they can give me my citizenship since my kid died for this country, and they said, there's nothing we can do. So he said, I promise you, as soon as I get to the White House, I will give you your citizenship. And then a few months later, I talked to my husband and I said, you know what? I'm not going to be able to vote. So I better put this hard head to work and do my test and get my citizenship so I can vote in November. And I did. So when I went back and see him, I actually told him, guess what? You don't have to give me that because I already got it. He was just laughing. So then after that, we talked to him. We spent like 6 hours. We know that he loves music. He loves Elvis Presley. He loves him. He said, but just the depressing songs. He loves Luciano Pavarotti. And he loves Rosalind, right? He said, I have been so many fights, and I enjoy every single one. So when we were sitting at the dinner that day, he just looked at me and he said, hey, you come here, sit down by me. And it was so funny because I was talking to my son Axel, which he was 13, and then I was on the phone, and then he said, who are you talking to? I'm like, I'm talking to my son, and he's a really big fan of you. And he said, do you know how to take a selfie? And I said, yeah. And he said, just take a selfie and send it to Axel. And then I thought, he's gonna think that that man is gonna remember something from that day. So then later they invited us to a rally in Miami. And then my husband was not able to go with me, so I took Axel with me. And he was like talking and he was saying, hey, so, and we have the family of Umberto Sanchez, and we have Coral and Axel. And then he looked at us and he's like, Axel? Hi, Axel. And then Axel was so happy. He said, Mom, please find the YouTube video and send it to me so I can show it to my friends. That he actually remembers me. So then those are the little things that people that actually watch him on the news and like all that stuff, they don't know about that man. That he really cares and he really remembers and he really is 100% there. I have the experience from Mr. Biden and Donald Trump, and he's a man that even at the age that he is now, he remembers and he's a whole man. So then he invited us to a few other rallies, and then we went to, what other one? A few more, but we did a documentary. We got involved in that, actually, just me, Ryan. And they released a documentary like 2 months ago, something like that. So then this past week they invited us to Mar-a-Lago to the big release of the documentary, and it was an experience that I never thought in my life I was going to go to the big man's house. It's a mansion, and it's just so, like, it's gold everywhere. You go to the bathroom, and then the napkins, they are actually white with gold letters, and should I say this? So I went to the bathroom. And there is a lady on the bathroom just making sure that the towels are right, that that nobody needs anything. And I'm like, I never thought I was gonna go to a bathroom where they have somebody helping. They go to the bathroom. And then I asked them if there was somebody in the men's room. Did they do? Or they didn't? They didn't, just the woman. Because he cares about the woman, that's what he said. So, okay. I can tell you many, many other stories about the men, about the men that we actually meet, the men that cares, the men that I always tell people when they ask me about why you support them, like being Hispanic, like our community is really, really against him because he wants to build a wall. But I can believe that there's so many men. And between social media and all the news outlets, they just make him look bad and they just change the context of what he really means. And I really, really experienced this firsthand. I told you my community is not really with Donald Trump. So when I went to the RNC, I actually contacted two of the big outlets, which was Univision and Telemundo. They are national. And when they were asking me questions, I answered my thoughts and they cut me. I tried to go away from their questions and I tried to tell the people the truth, to try to open their eyes, and they cut it. They changed the subject. So when Trump went to Arlington, they asked us, the other parents that we don't have our kids there, they asked us, do you have any issues if he goes there? And we said, our kids are not there, but he's paying his respect to the 13, not just the 3. So we were okay with that. So then they had that incident when they said that somebody from the campaign pushed one of the workers and they contact me again. And then I give them my opinion, and guess what? An hour with the Univision, whatever noticias, and they never put that on TV. Because they didn't like what I want to say. They didn't like my opinion, they just want the bad part. And since I was not giving that, they just never put that on the air. And then just like that, it's just like you hear things from the outlets and from social media that they change everything, but that's not the truth. I don't want to change nobody's ideas. I'm just telling you my experience that I have with them. And then I can tell you many other situations with Kamala Harris and with Joe Biden, and most of you guys already know. There's one thing that it keeps me awake at night, and it's something that it replays in my head, especially at 2:30 at night. I don't know why. At 2:30, I think that it's because the time that I have to knock on the door. But when I wake up, the only thing I can think is I was the last one in the room, and I don't regret anything. I see that face in the news, and the only thing I can see is her saying this. It was a flawless withdrawal. We did not regret anything. And then they want to throw the story under the rug, and when we try to expose them a little bit more, I don't know how many of you guys watched the debate when he said that nobody in his administration died. And we said, what about the 13? Not just the 13, come to my house and tell me in my face that my skin's not dead. What about the other three that they died in the Jordan? Like, how they can deny that our kids died? It's not just one thing, it's not being responsible and not accepting that they messed up and they did something wrong, but they just say nobody died. Just like when she said that there's no soldiers deployed in any hostile territory, and then you see all our Marines and sailors that they are like in Syria and all those places deployed, and they're what are we doing here? So she's just lying. And it's just so sad that a lot of people, they still say, yes, we want Harris as our president, and I don't know you guys, but I don't want 4 more years of this. I told my husband, and now I'm so like frustrated with the situation, like knowing that they are gonna try to steal the elections and they are gonna try to get their way or their way. And I told my husband, my anxiety and it's just like to the roof, because I came from a bad place many years ago, because there was not a good place for me to raise my kids. So I came here and I realized that this is a place where we can have everything. We can be Americans and we can enjoy your country and your land and everything. You just